Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-bum. Hey everyone, this is Rabbi Kenneth Hahn for Ask the Rabbi Thursdays for JUTV, and today's question, as I posted earlier, is the Passover story true? And this was prompted when a friend of mine asked me just the other day that very question. And what I said to her was, that really depends. First of all, it depends on who you ask. If you ask someone who believes that the Torah is the sole and ultimate source of truth, an ultimate arbiter of truth, then of course that person will say, yes, of course, the Passover story is true. On the other hand, if you asked an archaeologist who have studied the question, they would say that there actually is no evidence in the archaeological record that the Jewish matriarchs and patriarchs actually ever lived, including Moses. And they would say, furthermore, that there is no evidence that the Israelites ever lived in Egypt, let alone were slaves there. And as it happens, the Egyptians were very good record keepers, so the fact that there is no record is telling in kind of a negative form of proof. But I would ask the question, does it really matter? And that's because the question was, is the Passover story true? So it also depends, the answer also depends on what you mean by true. Did it happen is one measure of true, but the other measure, and I actually would say the more important measure, is, does the Passover story contain truth? We now live in an era these days with so-called artificial facts and fake news and so on and so forth. So in that context, is the Maggid or the Passover story a case in point? I don't think so. And here's why. And I'm actually going to read this. I wrote this and I want to get it just right, so I'm going to read this to you. If we all share a story, and that story is vivid and detailed and feels real, and from it we can derive wisdom, healing, and insight into how we can lead better lives, does it really matter if that story actually happened? That's perhaps why we are told that the purpose of Passover is not just to recite an account of what happened, but to live the story today as though we were enslaved, as though we found the courage to rise up from a stuck and narrow place, as though we had doubts and misgivings about going forth and revisited the decision 10 or more times, but that in the end we did choose to cross the sea, perhaps in doing so causing harm to others, but nonetheless carrying on to find that which is our inheritance, namely the passion of living in the grace afforded by navigating our way to the expansiveness of the promised land. So with that I'll say, may this Passover be a true experience of releasing the shackles that bind each of us, and Hitraot. So I'll see you next time. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, I would ask that you feel free to share it with friends, and tune in on Monday for Music Mondays, and so long.